What the hell is happening in the chat? There's an actual conversation happening? I don't recognize that username. I'm sorry. You'll have to refresh my memory. I know Cow. I think I know Cow. Moderator on Brody's server, right? Alright, turn my music down a little. And by that I mean I'll turn it down inside Spotify so I can actually listen to chat. That is the tiniest fucking volume meter I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, where the hell's the courier? We need him. Alright. I'm pretty confident my mic's working. Alright. This time, I actually fucking booted the game first. Yeah, so no awkward wait. How y'all doing? Oh, I know who you are now. Alrighty. Okay. Now I know everybody in the chat, mostly. Okay. So. Hello, Ash. Alright. So. The last stream was a disaster. An absolute disaster. Because I got as far as implementing chromatic aberration. And then I noticed. Nobody else noticed, but I noticed. That the terminal and the info panel, which is not visible on screen right now, why am I touching my monitor? Were black. They were not supposed to be black. But they were black. So I spent a good 1 or 2 hours, I think, trying to fix it. And I had to end the stream off, because dinner was, you know, near. I am happy to report, as you can see on your screens right now, I fixed it. Do you guys want to know what the bug was? Are you fuck? What do you mean black is in white? Black is in the background blurs were rendering. Well, they were not rendering. Alright. I'm really waiting for an answer. I'm waiting for an answer. I gotta hear a yes or a no in the chat. I don't have a chat replay button. I can't view previous message. I can't listen to previous messages. Okay. Alright, that's not quite a yes or a no, but I'll take that as a yes. Okay, so. Best way to show this is... Ooh, it's daytime. So daytime is how I noticed it, by the way. Now, if I go into system settings, right here, the first thing that you'll notice is it is not black. You can see the background. You can see the panel. You can see the dock. Things are a little hard to make out, but they're there. It's not as blurry as I'd like, but performance. Now, this was working fine. Alright, that's a crucial detail. The system settings backdrop was working fine. Alright? It was the terminal and the info panel that were not. So that's where we were. Now, as you can see right now, terminal's working. There's nice translucent background on it. It looks beautiful. It's legible. It's got that vibe. It looks awesome, alright? Except for the little bug with how the cursor doesn't scroll with the actual text. That's bug with my port of Suckless Terminal. I'll have to figure that out before the game releases. Not now. Basically, if I close the game, hi Spotify, go away Spotify, and we go into Dual Kawasi, the hater. And I just find the finish step. Now, we're gonna have to be careful about this. I'm gonna need to turn off bloom. I forgot. It's kind of very important that I turn off bloom, otherwise I will not be able to play the game while I do this demonstration. Because this hater is used for bloom. So we're gonna turn chromatic aberration off. That's gonna get in the way. Now we're gonna turn bloom off, because that's gonna get in the way. But we're gonna leave background blurs on. And holy fuck, the game lost a whole bunch of soul because this window is no longer glowing. Alright, so. If I scroll down, there's gonna eventually be a method, float for finish. If I do a little bit of a hater diagnostic test here, by just returning float for, which is a vector, and for the red, I'll put in data.textchord.x. For the green, I will put data.textchord.y. There will be no blue, and there will be full alpha. And we compile that. That's going to turn this shader into a UV diagnostic shader. And it's going to visually represent something. That's what we were doing in the last stream, and it was stumping me. Alright. So now you can see, instead of there being a background blur of the terminal, well, there's some color, but as you can see, in the top left, we have this very dark area. But as we go toward the top right, we have this red corner, right? And as we go down, things become more green. It's yellow down here, and green over here. It's a bit hard to tell because of the overlay of the terminal's background color, but that's what's going on. And what was happening, and what threw me off, was none of this was red or black. It was all green. Right? So that was the problem. There were 3 problems going on that caused that. So, we're gonna get rid of this return statement because I want my shader to function properly. So we'll boot the game up again. Holy shit, Courier was actually... Alright, so... if we go to background blur widget.doBlur, here's the first bug that I had to fix. It was in this method, set blur area. Now this we might be able to optimize later, but what ultimately needed to happen was I needed to make sure that left was -1 here, right was +1, top was +1, and bottom was -1. Because in OpenGL it's upside down and it's stupid. But the way I achieved that was inside this, not this method, but the one that calls this method, the resize if needed. What I ultimately ended up doing to fix this whole thing was, instead of allocating a dedicated blur texture for all blurs, as in all blurs would share the same 2 textures, what I ended up doing, and I apologize if this is a bit hard to follow because it's a complicated effect. These 3 properties right here inside the cached geometry class. This is a custom property object, which in socially distant is just an object you can attach to a UI widget, and you know, it stays with that widget, and you can access it at any time, but I don't have to recompile acidic GUI just to add the properties. It's a thing in things like WPF as well. It's useful. But what I'm doing here is I'm attaching 3 render target properties to each blurred widget. We have a front one and a back one, and the texture that ultimately ends up getting rendered to the screen. So, what ultimately this does is, instead of me having 2 global blur textures that I reuse across widgets, each widget has its own blur textures. Now, what that lets me do is, well, instead of the blur texture matching the size of the screen, when I go to resize the blur textures, I use the width and height of the widget. So overall, I'm using less graphics card memory, so that's good. But that's not where the bug fix comes from. This just helps me get to that bug fix, right? Since the blur textures are now the size of the widget and not the screen, the area that I have to blur will map to the entire texture. So, Because of that, if we go back to that set blur region or whatever the method was called, this one right here, we click on that, because the blur area is now the same size as the widget, and thus the texture. These coordinates here float top, left, bottom, and right. These are all going to be equal. Left is going to be -1, which is what we want. Right is going to be +1. And top is going to be +1, and bottom is going to be -1, because in OpenGL, -1 is the bottom of the screen. I don't know why it's that, but it is. Anyway. Then, over here, these UV coordinates, these will end up mapping to 0 and 1. Which is what we want. That's good. So, this code is effectively the same as it was yesterday. It was fine. We didn't need to change anything about it, so it's back to how it used to be. I'm eventually going to remove it and just statically allocate the vertex buffer and stuff like that. Anyway, that's optimization stuff for later. Where the actual bug was, and it's really frustrating that this was where the bug was. Where the fuck is the method? Right here. Right here. This is where the bug was. When I actually rebuild the geometry for the mesh, or for the widget. The first thing that I do is I create a geometry helper for the widget, so I can actually, like, render to it, right? And then, using that geometry helper, I create a mesh, using the final texture of the blur effect. Alright? So that guarantees that when I go to render this mesh, I'm always using the correct texture. That's fix number 1. Then, the next thing that I do is I create 4 vertices, representing the top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right of the blur area. The bug was in the UVs. I never updated them to account for the fact that I was only blurring the area around the widget. I was rendering the entire screen inside the tiny little area. And so the actual blurred region was out of bounds, invisible, and getting culled, leading to everything going black, and me having a disaster of a live stream. All because I forgot to change some values to a 0 and some values to a 1. Game development! Why did I choose to use OpenGL over Vulkan? It's because I'm using monogame, and monogame does not support Vulkan. Anyway, background blurs are fucking fixed. So, here's the rule for this stream. No storms are allowed. Because we're not going to allow ourselves to get so frustrated that this kind of oversight happens. Alright? We're only allowed to be happy. And... oh, fuck. We're only allowed to be happy, and we're not allowed to have rain. Only sunshine. Alright? Because fuck that bug, it was tough. Now, there were other things that were going on that were not helping. That you guys didn't pick up, that I didn't pick up, and I'm sad that nobody picked up. But if we go down here, you'll see I removed a lot of code. because a lot of it was redundant in testing. But first bug that we didn't notice that was easy to fix is these for loops were reversed. For a proper dual pass Kawasi blur, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to downsample for however many blur passes you need, and then you're supposed to upsample for however many blur passes you need. What I was doing, which was very weird and very broken, and I didn't notice it because we were only using really low blur values, and I'm blind, which naturally makes background blur shaders look better as it is. I was downsampling, then upsampling, then downsampling, then upsampling, then downsampling, then upsampling, then downsampling, then upsampling, and that was breaking things. I talked to Vaxery about the shader, I clarified how I'm supposed to use it, I'm using it properly now, that's been fixed. Awesome. Next bug. When we were troubleshooting, at one point, I forced it to only use the down pass by doing that. Or rather, that. Alright? But when I went to undo it, what I ended up doing is I misread this 1 as an I. And I put +1, resulting in 1 + 1 being the index into the passes that I apply. Which, let me just show you what that does. Where the fuck's the game? Why isn't it? Oh, I had it open in the background. Alright, let me show you what that does. Alright. So, terminal is now black. There's no background on it. Now, it's not actually black, it's because there's a gray overlay above the black. But, you go into system settings, and things are not looking great. As you can see, it has kind of this effect of zooming in the background. That's where we ended off in the stream yesterday. So, that was caused by 1 + 1. So, if we fix that, and put a fucking I where there's supposed to be an I, it fixes everything. So, half the headache yesterday was because I misread the letter I as the number 1. So yeah, you fix all those bugs, and background blur works fine. Anyway. So. Now that that's all been fixed, I can turn bloom back on. And I tuned bloom after the stream. You'll notice there are definitely some issues here and there with how the bloom effect treats some of these UI elements. Like, this is a bit hard to read. I know that it says system settings because I'm the one who typed the words system settings into that string. But if I didn't know that, I wouldn't be able to read it. I got rid of the blue, the weird looking blue glow in the settings icon. So that's been fixed. But you'll notice that the actual window border is glowing, like kind of a neon strip sort of glow. That's what I've always wanted it to do. I wanted it to be subtle but noticeable, and that's working now. And you can compare and contrast by turning off bloom. As you can see, the glow is completely gone. This is where having the zoom is really helpful, because I can go in and see things at a pixel level and really tell that the bloom is working. So the window borders generally get brighter and they glow, and I like that. You can tell there's still some glow around the settings icon itself. Slightly glowing. It's subtle. And there's glow around things like the nub, I guess is what you would call it, of the switch toggle. And it doesn't quite glow as normally, but when you hover over it, it gives a nice glow effect. I like that, because we can animate that, and it'll fade in, and it'll make the game feel a whole lot more alive. So that's great. I am going to darken the nub on switches that are turned off so that they don't bloom. That'll give them a little more contrast against ones that are turned on. So maybe if you're struggling to see the background, even though it's a really high contrast on versus off background, it'll still, at a glance, because even at this zoom level, I kind of struggle to tell which ones are on and off unless I really strain and keep my eyes still, so that's going to be helpful. They all look on right now. I know they're not all on, but they all do look like they're on. So, yeah. This stream is going to be all about yeah, the bloom is really subtle. If I hit F4 to go into the post-process debugger, these are basically the settings I went for. I'm going to not click on anything, but for bloom color, it's now white. Solid white. So that means it won't mask out reds or anything like that, or tint anything blue. What I've decided I'm going to do with that is I'm going to have it be white as a neutral color, but there's a mechanic I'm going to implement in the game eventually, where if you type commands really fast and like successfully, and you get into a flow state, the game's going to track that, and it's going to subtly glow things blue. It's going to be subtle but noticeable. Then, when you're in a panic state, like you're getting hacked, not only are you going to get glitch effects and stuff like that, and chromatic aberration and things around the edges of the screen, but you're going to get things tinting slightly red to indicate that something's wrong. So that's how I'm going to use the bloom color. But normally it's just going to be white. So it'll go between white and then cyan and then red. That's how we're going to do it. Anyway, as far as bloom threshold, it's 0.974. It's a very specific value, but that's where the slider landed on, and I thought that looked good, so I put it as that by default. Intensity, it's subtle, 1.1. So that means anything that does get bloomed will get 10% brighter. As far as the blur, what I've done is I've made it extremely subtle. So 1.1. So that gets you a 1-pass blur. It's gonna be really nice, or really easy on the GPU compared to what it used to be. And as far as noise, it's very subtle, 0.12. I think that's the default from like Hyperland for this shader. Brightness, what I've done for the color filtering is I've set brightness basically around a little bit below the brightness threshold. So that brings a little more UI elements into the brightness threshold by increasing the overall brightness of the screen before it gets bloomed. And then contrast, I thought that it looked good having it set near around the blur amount and the bloom brightness. Vibrancy I haven't messed with. I don't really know what it does, but vibrancy and vibrancy darkness are all the same. And yeah, so that gets me a really subtle bloom. And if I click on... first of all, if I skip the screen merging, and then skip the blurring, you can see the regions of the screen that actually do get affected by bloom and what colors they will be bloomed as. And the reason that I went with these values is you can see that, you know, the settings icon, that's obviously going to get bloomed because it's perfectly visible in this view. The system settings, you're only going to get a subtle glow because not the entire font is getting bloomed, but enough of it to where you can make out the text. It's kind of an interesting font when you do this kind of hater on it. Is getting red. So you can see there's like some artifacting here and there of parts that are not totally bright. So that the like curve in the top of that S, for example, not looking too good. But of course you're not going to notice that when the screen gets merged in. This is telling you what areas are bright enough to get bloomed. And you can make out that it says system settings. But none of the sidebar elements here are getting bloomed. You can see the window border is. The tab isn't. I had to kind of mask out the tab because it was causing readability problems. A little bit of the X is getting bloomed. Kind of middle of it. If you're wondering what that weird speck is, that's the X button of the window. You can see that a lot of these titles for the different settings you can set are getting bloomed, but none of the descriptions are. That's good. And then you can see the nubs of the icon of the switches are getting bloomed, but their outlines aren't. But if you hover them, their outlines do get bloomed. See? So, yeah. It's meant... Oh, there's one right here that's... I think that one's in focus? No, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why this one is... That's weird. This one has a glowing border, but the other one... this one's in focus. There might be a bug with how the game handles navigation focus. I think they're both in a focused state for some reason. That's weird. But yeah, you can see where the areas of the game get bloomed in this menu. And you can see quite a lot of the mountains in the background get bloomed. And you can see the border around the terminal. That gets bloomed. Where's the cursor? Why isn't the... It's a bit weird that the cursor doesn't get bloomed. That's weird. None of the... What? I'm a bit concerned that none of the terminal is bloomed. That's weird. Does any of Neophet get bloomed by any chance? Oh yeah. Yeah. Those colors get bloomed. Alright. I suspect what's going on there is the cursor is not bright enough to get bloomed. That's fine. Alright, let's apply the blur and merge off the screen, and you end up with... Wow! I didn't realize that the game was in daytime. But yeah, that's the refined bloom effect. It's a lot more subtle now. With that in mind, let's make some stuff look cool. I don't know why I closed the game. Alright, so one of the very first things that I want to fix, God, I love that fade, is if I log out, you're gonna see it pops up this dialog box. Now, most things in this dialog box that are important are yellow, or I guess that's more of a orange magenta type color. Not the window border. That's cyan. It shouldn't be cyan. It should be the same color as the block here and the title. So that's going to be the first thing we fix. Let's get those window borders looking proper. They've been fucked up since the game was written in Unity. Alright, so. I think it's window decoration.cs. There should be... I think it's window decorator state, right? No, we have iWindow decorator. And that's an iVisual window visual state. Okay, so Socially Distant expects us to provide a desired window color, or desired border color, and it's a common color enum. And a common color can be either blue, cyan, yellow, red, green. Those are your typical cyberpunk colors. So, somehow, we need to allow the message box to set this color on its window decorator. That's what we're going to implement. So, I happen to know that there is one, and only one, class that implements iWindow decorator. And it is Window Client Area. So, if we just... get my bearings here. We're going to move it to its own file, because it's in another file right now for no godly good reason. What we can do is we can create a common color variable, desired border color, and we can default that. I'm going to default to cyan. Alright, and then we expose it as a property. Alright, it's now a property, so we can now go down and there will be, before render, and instead of just defaulting it to common color.cyan, we're going to default it to desired border color. And we're going to make sure that if the color changes, then just after we apply it, we invalidate the Windows geometry so that it repaints. Okay, now we need to find window base, because that's the base type for all windows in the game. There are tiles, and there are floating windows, and then there are message dialogues. So, all we gotta do is allow users oh, what the fuck? Where are my window decorations? Oh. I missed a step. Alright, get is going to return decoration.border color. And then... Actually, that's going to be decoration.desired border color. And then set is going to be decoration.desired border color equals value. And I'm going to make sure that I actually fucking expose that in the window decoration. This is the step that I missed. Oh god, that was almost a Stack Overflow exception. There we go. So these properties are now exposed. That's cool. The only thing I will do now is I will expose a property in iWindow for this. Actually, no. I'm not. Not yet, at least. Someone said please tell me you have your colors defined and I'm not working with raw RGB value. Yes, they are well-defined values, don't worry. It's a lookup table. That would be... That would map, or that would be this method right here. Get common color inside socially distant visual style. And you can see that it's just a simple lookup table. So, if you specify cyan, you get the accent cyan. Accent cyberspace. You get warning. You get evil, which I think is red. Success is green. Primary is blue. And then anything else, we just default to white. So yeah. Don't worry, I got that sorted out. Okay, so. Message dialog. So, this is a good thing. We have a private read-only window. Not an iWindow. Which means I can access the internal API for it. I planned this well. Okay, so... there should be a property somewhere that lets me set the message dialog type. That's an event, not a property. Okay, there's the icon. Common color. I might have to deprecate that API. Alright, message type equals value. Update colors. That sounds like what we want. Okay, infobox.color equals message type switch. Okay. Alright. Window.border color equals infobox.color. Let's see how that looks so far. It would help if I could actually click. Why am I having trouble clicking? There we go. Okay. Alright. So now, the border looks proper. I think it might even be getting bloomed, but I can't tell. Oh, there's a tool for that. I can check if it's getting bloomed. I don't think it's getting bloomed. Okay. Yeah, it's not getting bloomed. The title is. But I have a feeling I'm gonna need to turn up the brightness of that color. That's fine. At least I know that the border color is working. Alright, let's work on the window tab. Where do I go with the window tab? I think it's window decoration that has the tab area. Window tab list. That would be it. Okay. How are we gonna do this? Okay, I think the first thing that I'm going to do is force window tab list to take a window base. No, I'm not gonna do that with primary constructor because there's already a constructor defined. Okay, we're gonna take in a window base. Eventually I will rename window base to window, and then window will become tiled window, and then floating window will stay the same. But for now we have to deal with window base. I know it's a violation of the Geneva Convention to name a base class with the word base in it. Alright, does that have any undue consequences? Oh wait, I'm fucking stupid. It's not a window base I want to take in. I want to take in a window decoration. The border color is controlled by the window decoration, not the window itself. There we go. Wait, what? There we go. I didn't miss... Okay, decorator. Alright. I didn't misspell anything. There is a reason I have the base class. I don't want floating window and tiled window to have to implement all the stuff that all windows need. When you're actually working with windows in the game, you work with them via interface anyway. These are internal types that are built into the binary. But when you use the modding SDK, you get an I window, and that's what you get. Alright, so now that I've gotten the tab list associated with the window decorator, I can now get window tabs associated with the window decorator, and then the window tabs will know what colors they need to be. I don't know why that was funny to me, but... Alright, I first want to know... Does window tab get associated with its parent type? Alright, we do not make associations with the window decorator here, so we're about to. Feeling much better today, except for the hiccups, but no storm headache, no storm at all. Things are going well. Okay, now window tabs have associations with their window decorator, which means they now have window hint notice, or window hints, and the border color associated with them. That's good. Abstract window, fuck that. iWindow interface, iWindow base class. Fuck that. Abstract factory of window. Window builder. Window factory builder. Abstract window factory builder. Abstract window factory builder singleton reference span. You know, I'm an object-oriented programmer because I'm using C#, but, like, you'd be surprised how little I use OOP features. Unless I absolutely have to. Like, I don't like dealing with base classes and shit. And like, one of the main things that really annoys me right now in Socially Distant is program controller. The fact that every program in the game, like terminal or email, needs to implement this constructor. frustrates me. And then somehow I need to call it, but it's private. You physically cannot call a private constructor on a base class, because I don't want people manually constructing this class. I want the game to construct it, because it can be bound to a process and all that stuff. But there are times where I really wish I could just say, fuck the type hierarchy. This class needs to access methods from this class that are not private, or not public. This class is a friend with this other class. C++ lets me do that. C# does not. It gets frustrating. I would love for a class to be able to create instances of another class that only has private constructors. Anyway, no sidetracking. Window tab list. I actually wanted window tab, not window tab list, but okay. Window tab should have a visual state attached to it. I would hope. Yeah, because we have the, Oh, that doesn't bode well. We have button.visualState associated with window tabs. That's not gonna give me the control I need. So you have iMouse, click handler, iWindow tab. iWindow tab is an iVisual button.visualState. Alright, I'm gonna need to create a custom visual state property for... Wait. Okay, hat message visual state. I don't know how I ended up there. Public struct window tab visual state. Okay, so we're gonna give it a color. We're going to give it its hovered value, its pressed, is active, and is focused. Alright. So iWindow tab is now an iVisual of window tab visual state. I hope me constantly jumping around and zooming around isn't bothering you guys, by the way. Like I established with the first dev stream, there's really no way I can work around that until Kwin implements a feature I'd really like it to have, but still care. Oh, whoa, where... That was weird. IntelliSense, or code completion just kind of... Oh, shit. Code completion died for a sec. Alright, now, is it iWindow tab renderer that has... Oh god. What is the interface for this? I know it's gonna be in Windows style. Oh, it's I window tab, and then... What? Am I typoing somewhere? Why is it typoing? Oh, visual! Alright, I'll fix that later. Alright, now that the internal definition of it is fixed, I'm going to... Holy fuck, that's way too many interfaces. Alright, this is gonna take me a little while, to figure out which one I need to edit. There it is. Okay, not too- oh fuck, there it is. And then it'll be my window tab widget. Alright, theoretically that should give me control over that color value. Provided the game compiles. That's kind of an important part. Alright, once it compiles, I'm gonna fix that typo. Did you really just say my code takes up too much of PC? I wouldn't blame you. It can get really fucking slow in socially distant visual style. That class is 2,000 lines long. And has, like, 10 nested types. And implements... Well, you saw it! It implements, like, 30 interfaces. But hey, the fact that it implements 30 interfaces means that there's not a base class involved. Okay, so everything compiles. Let's fix that stupid-ass typo. Visual. Sounds less like a fucking adjective and more like some kind of medicine. Like an eye drop. For dry eyes. Oh my god. Fuck! I didn't hit enter. I didn't hit the insert key hard enough. Alright, you're now window tab visual state. Alright, so clearly we've got it functioning properly. It's detecting the new renderer. That's good. That's good. Alright. Let's go back to window tab. It does not have a before render. I'm gonna do a rebuild geometry, and we're going to implement a before render. No SRP involved? What does SRP mean? Alright, that's everything on the window tab side. It just needs to notify the theme system what color it wants to use. Actually, is that actually rendering? I think it is, but I'm gonna double check on a more high contrast background. Okay, yeah, I didn't fuck anything up. We still have a blue background. Alright, cool. So now, let's pop over to... socially distant visual style.window state. Windows style. Alright, so... Well, to be fair, all the 30 interfaces it implements... It's more that it implements 30 instances of the same interface using different type parameters. So, you know, it's still a theme. It's just capable of theming different kinds of widgets. Alright, so here's how this method works. We get a window tab visual state for the properties, and we need to figure out how to turn those into an actual window tab. Now, thankfully, we're kind of halfway there. See, what we can do is we have a default background and a default border stroke coming from the theme. That's fine. That's cool. But if the widget is active, then hey, I'm trying to think of a way I want to do this. Because here's the thing. What I want is for the background of the tab to be slightly darker than the border. But I also want it to respond to things like hover and pressed states. Hover should brighten it, and pressed should darken it more than it already is. Problem is, I don't have a darken or lighten method implemented for colors in monogame. And I'm wondering what the best way to implement those would be. Next, what would be nice is if I could do background darken by like 0.15f, which would mean get 15% darker, which is how I would implement that. Or if I wanted to go brighten something, I could go brighten 0.15f. And that would make it get 15% brighter. Let's implement that. We're going to implement them as extension methods. So we'll do darken first. Okay, so given a color and an amount to darken by, how would I accurately darken the color without going into converting between RGB and 8SV? Multiplying a color in monogame multiplies the alpha channel. In C# you cannot operator overload on types you don't have control of. Yeah. There's already a multiply operator defined for colors. It'll be color times float, and that multiplies the alpha channel by the given amount. That's how monogame... Unity will do it with brightness, but it's like not an accurate... It's not an accurate way of doing brightness. Because I think it just proportionally multiplies the RGB values. It's an interesting choice, but you know what? It's really nice. It's really nice to be able to say, okay, I want a color to be 50% translucent. Alright? Color times 0.5f. It's logical. It's not the way Unity does it, so if you're coming from Unity, you might not be used to it, but, you know, I used XNA before I used Unity, so I'm used to it working that way, and I love it. It's really handy. Because it's painful to go, like, okay, I want a new color, and I want it to be the same red value. Fuck. See, I've already typoed it. Alright? So, you know, I want it to be the same color red, I want the same green, I want the same blue, and then I need to remember alpha is... we multiply that by 0.5, and then this whole ordeal... multiply the color by 0.5. I would have ended up implementing a fucking extension method to do it anyway, so, you know... I could do it the way the Bloom shader does it. So the way the Bloom shader does it is we get the brightness of the color by doing math.max of color.red and the maximum of color.green and color.blue. So it'll get the channel that is of the highest value. It's not the greatest way to do it, I don't think, but what we can do I'm trying to think of in my head. How I'm going to use this brightness value. Because if I multiply it by the amount percentage, then that's going to give me the amount I need to decrease by, proportional to how bright the color is. So if I want it darkened by 15%, this will get me 15% of the current brightness. Or rather, the 15% of the brightest channel. And then what I could do is I could multiply each channel by this value and then subtract that result from each channel of the original color. AKA multiply by 1 minus that amount. That'll work, right? Let's find out. We might be onto something. I'm not that great at math, surprisingly. Okay, operator precedence. I am good at bedmess. That much I know. And for those who don't speak Canada, bedmess equals PEMDAS. That should be a decent enough darken algorithm, or darken routine, yeah. And then it would be all pluses for Brighton, I think. I mean, we'll ultimately find out if I'm onto something here. I've really never implemented these on my own without converting to HSP and then back. Which would be the most accurate way to do it. But I really don't feel like looking up the algorithm for how to convert between them. And this would make sense, because if I were to darken by a negative amount, then that would suggest it would get brighter. So let's give this a shot. Alright, so first thing that I'm gonna do is for these colors, I'm gonna turn them into ternaries. I know people don't like ternaries. I don't give a fuck. If you can't read a ternary, learn how to read a ternary. It's not hard. It really isn't. Nested ternaries? Fair. Don't do those. But honestly, I'll explain why I get really mad when I hear people say they don't like ternaries. I had a professor. Now, I really like this professor. I just don't like some of his code style. And I think I'm entitled to that opinion while still respecting him, because I can justify it. He is the type of programmer who, for one, cannot stand early returns. So he does not like guard clauses. Like, if thing is null, then return. He hates those. Because his justification is, well, another programmer could go and, define some code that happens after that early return, and then not realize that early return is there, and then if the thing is null, then obviously their code is never going to run, and they're not going to know why their code... No. That reasoning is flawed. You should be reading code before you edit code. So, if you're actually reading the code, you'll see the guard clause and go, okay, if this thing is null, then this code won't run. So, his whole thing with ternaries is, well, some programmers might find it hard to go like that, where int a becomes 0 if the thing is null, or 2 otherwise. Some programmers find that hard to read, because you have trouble memorizing which one is true and which one is false. Well, true is always going to be the first one, which is specifically why I have this wrapping setting. The first line is always going to be what you get when it's true, and the second line is always going to be what you get when it's false. That's how I remember it. And if you're capable of remembering that, then ternaries really are not hard to read. It's the nested ones that are awful. But simple ones like that, which is the best time to use them, they're fine. Now, if you struggle reading them, that's fair enough. Practice. I'm not going to change my coding style because one person can't read it. Okay. Okay, how do I go from colors into ternary expressions? Because I need to use ternary. Why do I need to use the ternary? Well, it's because, for the background... Yeah. I don't like when C programmers do that. Like, I will declare variables at the top of the function if I know I'm going to need them frequently. But, you know, if I have a loop counter that's like 100 lines down in the function, I'm not going to declare it here. Because what the fuck does I mean in the context of all these other variables? It's a loop counter. It belongs down in the loop. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is if widget is active, then the background is going to become the accent color. Otherwise, it's going to become the default background color for a window tab when not active. Alright. So that's ternary number 1. I know, ghastly. Ternary number 2. If the widget is either active or hovered, then the border color is going to become the accent. Otherwise, it's going to become default for the border stroke. Okay. So now we can get rid of this if statement. And theoretically, that is enough to get proper accent color working inside window tabs. Provided the game compiles. Alright, I'm not sure what happened here. Where did I fuck up? Oh, I forgot a new. And yes, I'm aware of the bug you guys pointed out. I don't... if the brightness exceeds 1, I'm fine with the hue getting disrupted. You guys are free to fix that if you want, but I don't feel like implementing that right now. AKA, I might put that on the issue tracker as a good first issue. Alright, let's see if we get proper coloring inside of this inside of the logout screen. Ooh, that's a good sign. Yeah! Awesome! Alright. So that's part 1. Part 2 is making it so that you can hover over things and stuff like that. So back in Window tab, there's a few interfaces I need to implement here. We already have iMouse click handler. That's great. We need iMouse enter handler. iMouse leave handler, and if you're familiar with Unity, these interfaces are probably identical to the ones you use in Unity, except that they work much better, and are actually properly implemented and documented. Actually, that last part is not true, but it eventually will be. Unlike Unities, that are undocumented, and have been for over a decade. Alright, iMouse down handler, iMouse up handler, I gain focus handler, and I lose focus handler. Alright. I need to move my keyboard over a little. Actually, I am going to take a quick couple-minute break and get myself some water, because I'm getting thirsty. So, one moment, please. Alright. I now have water. I will now proceed to drink said water. Holy fuck. Alright. Yes, this is your legal obligation under the state of Richie for everybody to drink water. Alright. Okay, let's implement all these fucking interface methods. Okay, so on mouse enter, visual state dot hovered equals true. Invalidate geometry. On mouse leave, visual state dot hovered equals false. Invalidate geometry. And then on mouse down, it's going to be if e dot button dot left. That gives me the ability to check if one of the buttons being pressed is currently the left mouse button. If that is not the case, we are going to say fuck off, we're not handling the event. Alright. Now we can handle the event by requesting focus. And I can say visual state dot is pressed equals true, and invalidate geometry. There we go. Now, on mouse on mouse up, it's the same thing, except this one true becomes false. And then on focus gained, it's going to be state that is focused equals true, invalidate geometry. This one's false. Alright, now we have all the events needed for this to render properly. The last thing that I'm going to do... fuck it. That part's fine. Alright, I'll fix that one later. So now that we have those events triggering different stuff to happen, what I can do is float background darken amount equals what's a good default? I'm gonna go with 0.2f. And then what we're gonna do is we have a rounded rectangle outline. Oh, I'm stupid. Okay, this float needs to be declared above. See, this is why you don't edit code without reading it first. You will make mistakes. That's on you! Which is my way of saying that one was on me. Alright, we have an rounded rectangle, and this background is going to get darkened by the background darken amount. Now, the way this is going to work is if the widget is hovered and it is pressed, then the darken amount is going to be uh, 45. Try that. Okay, the default is going to be 3. I'm trying to visualize in my head what this is going to look like. And then if we're hovered and not pressed, background darken amount is going to be 0.15. And the last thing that I'm going to do is there's a stroke thickness value here. thickness is gonna be... Right now it's 1. But if the widget is focused, then it's gonna be 2, otherwise 1. See what that does. Okay, that one... I don't know what happened there. Don't tell me we have a Black Plague going on again in the game. Please. Alright, what the hell? What did I fuck up? Time to investigate what's wrong with my colors. Okay, so we'll put a breakpoint there. So the percentage... Oh, we love computers. The percentage is 0.3000000012, because floating point arithmetic is floating point arithmetic. Color, what is color right now? Dominant should be blue. Stop auto-completing random shit. There you go. Okay. Red is 52. He is 177. B is 25. Okay, so dominant is blue. That's good. But I now know what the bug is. Monogame expresses colors and their handles as values between 255 and 0. My code expects 0 between 1. That's a problem. I wonder if I could have just did 1 over... No, that wouldn't work. Alright, I can already tell things are a bit different. Okay, now things are oversaturated. Or not oversaturated, they're too bright. Well, that should not be solid white. Oh, yeah. Math is fucked. Monogame, it would be nice if you express the values between 0 and 1. Just saying. We'll figure this one out. I know it. Okay, so... brightness... is currently 0.297, or 298. Floating point. We love them. Alright, what does this color become? I love that the breakpoint highlight is the same color as the text selection highlight. Thanks, PetBrains! Actually, this isn't their theme. That's whoever made Darkula Pitch Black's fault. Okay. R should not be 255. How did R end up 255? What the fuck? Okay, what is... color.r... it's 52. 1 minus brightness... is 0.70. Okay? Alright? Now, someone tell me how the fuck 70% of 52, alright, you know, 0.70f becomes 255. Because in the debugger, that's not the case. How? Color.r times 1 minus brightness is 36 point something. So how did it become 255? I don't get it. This doesn't make... This makes no sense. What the fuck? Alright, let's look at the constructor for this, because clearly something's going on here. Yeah, float R, float E, float B, float alpha. Yeah. What? What? Oh, there's definitely something going on here. Mono game. Why? Okay. So, this constructor, it takes in a float R, a float E, a float B, and a float alpha. Cool. But what does it do with them? Okay. Alright, let's look at red. Alright. Fuck, this is hard to follow. Okay, so first thing that we do is we grab byte.max value, 255. And we convert that to a double. Okay? And then we multiply R by 255 as a double. After, of course, converting R from a float to a double. So 30 times 255, or what was it? 32 times 255. Yeah, 36.5, which can be rounded to 37, times 255. It's over 9,000! May I ask, why the fuck we're doing this conversion? I am a programmer, Monogame. I am very capable of making sure that my floating point values are within the range of a byte. You don't need to do it for me. Now I have to work around this. Fuck. Alright, happy thoughts. We figured it out, okay? That's fine. It's an easy fix. There we go. We do the conversion to int beforehand. It's really annoying that I have to do that. Thanks, Monogame. But it will fix the problem. Okay, where did I fuck up the syntax? Oh, right here. Okay. Okay. Alright. See, this is working, Monogame. This is working. Okay, we get... Alright, so this is good. We get some basic hover anime, or hover... Yes, this is much better. The only thing is the proportional brightness might be bad. I mean, it's fine. It does what it needs to do. And I mean, you do get the indication that you're hovering over it anyway. Okay, there is a bug. It is not supposed to get darker when you hover over it. Why is it getting darker when I hover over it? It should not be doing that. That is weird. Is that Bloom doing that? Let me turn Bloom off and check. Nope, that's actually just my fucked up code. Alright. Wait, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. Oh. Oh, I get it now. There's another bug. We don't multiply. Okay, this is what we need. Yeah, we need to subtract that from 1. And then we do it here as well. And then, instead of subtracting from 1 here, we just multiply. Okay, that should fix the problem. The smaller my darkening amount was, the more dark it was getting, and that was not what I wanted to do. Bigger value means darker. Yeah, see, with Bloom, this is gonna be fucking readable. Because this hover color was what it was at before, I think, like, nearby where it was. But now... Sure, you don't get a nice hover effect on the background for this guy, but... you do get a border. And that'll show up with Bloom. Alright, let's turn Bloom back on. I've clicked that toggle 3 times. There we go. That was weird. Alright, Bloom's back on. System settings is a little more readable. And... theoretically... if I go into the post-process debugger... that edge around the tab should be getting bloomed. Yep, it is. When you hover over it, the text gets bloomed, but the background doesn't. And then obviously, down in the terminal, you can really tell which one's active and which one isn't. You know, if it weren't for the artifacting around, like, the rounded corners and the little specks of light here and there, this wouldn't be a half-bad fucking high-contrast shader. And obviously the fact that none of the text is readable in the terminal. This wouldn't be too bad of a high-contrast shader. So yeah, there we go. We have nice bloomed edges now. Well, I would probably want to replace the font a little. I think it's a little too bold. But the best part is, what's the best way to trigger an error in this game? I don't actually know how to trigger an error in the game. Okay, the best part is we have this little end session thing here. It's orange. How it should be. So yeah, that border matches up with the color scheme of the dialog box. Awesome. Okay, I think I know a way I can trigger an error in the game. Let's go home, echo test, s.foo, and then there should be a browse command to open a file manager. Yes, there is, and if I double click on the file, it will do absolutely nothing, and I guess I will go fuck myself. Alright. I thought that double-clicking an unrecognized file in this game would cause it to throw an error. I never ported that. Damn it! Oh well. But that does lead me to something that I want to change about socially distant in general. And I want you guys to give me opinions on this and feedback on this. So, for the longest time, this game has been kind of a faux tiling window manager type thing with tabs and stuff like that, and I like that, but at the same time, it does... I don't know. Despite the bloom and all that stuff, my biggest problems with the game right now are the icons, particularly the dock. I really don't like the dock right now. And my problems with the dock is, this is the web browser. Wouldn't fucking know it. Unless there was a tooltip, and there used to be, but I haven't implemented that functionality yet. Problem, though, is... it's too sterile! It's too clean! Like, sure, it glows. But, like, it's all... okay, there are rounded corners, but other than the rounded corners, it's a very square icon with a lot of squares and rectangles. It doesn't even represent a web browser. Chat. This is just the Android text message icon. Email. I mean, it's fine. It would look better to me if it were inside of a circle. but it's fine. This is the crafting menu, which I have not really flashed out. But no, this is the icon for Google Workspaces. Down here is the file manager icon. It's fine. Again, I would rather it be in a circle and filled in, but it's fine. And the terminal, again, it's this weird squared off type of window icon thing, and I don't like it. I want it to be a circle, for one, with a hell icon in it. Like I'm fine with it being the little arrow and the underscore, because that's the universal symbol for a terminal, and everybody knows that's going to be a terminal. It just looks too clean. And this is just the Android apps icon. Again, it looks too clean. What I'm thinking of is I'm thinking of switching the game away from this general appearance of having the dock on the side and stuff like that. And I'm thinking of going to two panels, one at the top, one at the bottom, kind of like old GNOME 2 or Mate, but not really. My idea would be to have a status bar down here, like at the bottom of the screen, and then along the bottom, you're gonna have so this apps icon will be generally where it is, and it'll stay where it is, and it's where you get all your hacking tools and stuff like that. It'll just be inside a panel and not the dock. And then there will be, I'm probably gonna do it. Okay, here's what I'm thinking, okay? You know what, let's use KDE. Alright? So you know how I have this bottom panel? I want to have the app launcher where you get all your hacking tools. It's going to be right here, right where it is on my KDE system. Bottom left corner. Really nice click target. Right next to that is going to be your primary tools. You're going to have your terminal, your chat. No, you're going to have your terminal, your browser, your file manager, and all that stuff. Like I do. And then you're going to have open windows. So, like, there's WebCord. Imagine you would have, like, this icon here in the dock. The middle section is for your open windows. They would go in the bottom panel. Why does that crash the game? That really did crash. No, it didn't. That was, I don't know what happened there. The game just went in the background. Okay. Okay, I can't minimize that window. Okay, so yeah. This middle section in the dock would become a window switcher in the bottom. Okay? So at this point, we're thinking it's kind of like Windows. But at the top, you're going to have who you're logged in as. Okay, I'm just planning this out. Okay, no. Alright, let me think. We're gonna have app launcher. You're gonna have a workspace switcher. And then you're gonna have your pinned apps and then your open apps. And then, at the top, you're going to have the person you're logged in as, so written at, your computer. You're going to have your notification icons. So that's going to be your chat, your email, and when you click on them, those windows get brought up. And then you're going to have, in the middle, likely, it's going to be your threat indicator and your resource usage, so CPU and stuff like that. In-game CPU, mind you. In-game resources. And then the top right is going to be mostly the same, except the time of day and stuff like that is going to be moved into this area here. This is called the system tray in games. That's where that stuff's gonna go. But also, this, the time of day, the info panel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have it operate right below the system tray. It's going to be right aligned. So instead of the text being centered here, it's going to be right aligned. I can kind of show you guys what that'll be like. If I pull up the widget debugger. If I pull up the widget debugger, where did you go? Have you the game actually fucking crashed. Alright. Fine. Okay. That's weird. Wait, no, it fucking crashed. Alright. I didn't realize that. Okay, now that the game boots... Yeah, I didn't get the save. Damn it. I can't demo the fucking info panel being moved if you can't fucking see it! Oh, man. I gotta wait for the day to, or the game to switch over to night. I don't have a dev command to fix that. Okay, it's about to switch over in like a few seconds. FYI, it switches over at 7 PM. There we go. Okay, so with the debugger, I'm gonna fucking... Really? Where did it go? Where's my widget debugger? Damn you. Alright, there it is. Okay. So I can't add widgets, so it's really hard for me to demo what this is gonna look like in actuality. But fuck the dock for now. Fuck this flex panel. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this stack panel here, and so right now it's vertical, that's fine. Oh right, my brain has gone full Unreal Engine and thought that I could change the content alignment from the parent. Nope, you cannot. You have to do it from the child's individually. So, instead of the text alignment being center, we're gonna go right. And right here, instead of the text being center, we're gonna go right aligned. Alright. So yeah. The clock would be right aligned. Same with the day. And then your current mission would be where it is. I can demo that. Actually, I do want to put this save file into a mission state, just because that'll keep it spawning at night. Okay, there we go. So we're in a mission now. And I might decrease the width a little bit, because reasons, but, you know, this panel would stay generally where it is. But I would write a line like this, probably. And the way that's gonna work is you'll be able to toggle the visibility of this stuff on the side. So if you want to see what mission you're in and stuff like that, you'll be able to on the desktop. That's why I ultimately want to switch the game to a floating layout. So that I can, you know, I can't stop you from putting windows over top of that overlay, over top of the info panel. But let me show you guys why I actually want to fix that. Coordinator, I hope you're watching, because I'm going to address this bug. Alright, let's turn the game down to a resolution I have never tested the game on firsthand, but happen to know that anything lower than it is kind of dangerous. Alright, so 720p. As you can see, there isn't a whole lot of room. Alright? Because the window is really fucking tiny. Alright? There's not a lot of room for the desktop environment to exist. Things are starting to get cramped. Alright? Like, this email still fits on screen. It's fine. Alright, that's fine. Web browser. This doesn't look too great. You know, 720p. It's not that uncommon. But, like, we're struggling to find space to lay things out. Like, this, kind of fine. Okay. But I'm more concerned about this. Today's top story. Alright. Her outed strikes Fairview District. That's a reference to Prototype 2. So that's your fun fact of the day. Alright, so 720p. Alright, that's not even the lowest you can go. Let's go down to 960 by 720. Okay. System settings still fits on screen. Great. Now the layout's broken. This should not be over here. There's a whole bunch of gap over here that could be filled up. I don't want to know what flock.social's gonna look like, but click Lucky Dip and see what happens. Oh, is Lucky Dip even implemented at this point? Lucky Dip is not implemented. Okay. Why is this address bar perpetually marked as selected? That was weird. No, it's not HTTPS, it's web. Okay, yeah. Flock.social. Not looking too good. There's just not enough room. Now, a floating window manager would not fix this. Not necessarily. What it would do is it would force me to implement resizable windows, which would force me to fix the layout system. And then maybe you'd be able to fit this on screen. I could also do things like, you know... Why is that window draggable? Oh. Okay, I just found 3 bugs. Okay. First of all, this window is not supposed to be draggable. it's a tile. Second of all, we got some serious Z fighting issues going on here. Third, that profile icon is not moving along with the window. But clearly the game wants me to make all these windows floatable. Clearly it wants me to. Alright, otherwise it would not let me drag this. I mean, it snaps back to where it belongs. But if it didn't, it wouldn't cause problems. So what do you guys think? Should we go to a floating manager? With workspaces and the ability to toggle info panel and all that stuff. Should we do that? Fuck, I can't take this cramped resolution anymore. I'm increasing it. You know that feeling you get when you first install your graphics drivers and your monitor suddenly becomes readable at 4K? I mean, I'm going to 1440p. But holy fuck, it fits on screen again. Is there anything I can do to meaningfully help low resolutions? It's hard. If this weren't a text-based game, and by that I mean, like, there's no... If the primary way you interacted with the game wasn't by text, and reading, and typing, and clicking on things in a desktop environment, then I could take advantage of display scaling. Just give you a slider to tell you how big the UI should be. The problem is that's going to make the text harder to read. And if you can't read the text, you can't play the game. It's that simple. So, without compromising readability at low resolutions, there's not a whole lot I can do other than actually programming a layout system that can handle different breakpoints of resolutions. Which is why, by the way, we're moving towards things like libadwaita and UWP. Because those UI systems take care of, oh, this window is 300 pixels wide. I cannot fit this sidebar on screen. We have to collapse it into a mobile drawer. That's the problem I'm up against here, is it's not that you can resize the game window so small that it becomes necessary to act like a mobile app. It's that you can resize the resolution so small that things don't fit on screen. It's the same problem, just for different reasons. And yeah, it's a bit hard to deal with. Also, I'm curious, what happens if I try to drag the terminal? How is that going to affect background blur? It looks... Okay, it is not refreshing the blur as I drag. Okay. That's a bug. We're gonna fix that. That's an easy fix. Oops. Okay, how do we fix that bug? What we do is right here. We go widget dot position offset dot x widget position offset y Oh, no, 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 no. Not here, not here, not here. No. Alright. 0, 0 there. Screen area was the one I wanted to fix. Oh. 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 It's a caching invalidation bug. Okay. That's easy to fix. Okay, so we track the last position offset, and if it changes, then we invalidate the blur. Okay, we're no longer using the viewport. We don't need the viewport. Right, this doesn't make sense. Okay, something's throwing me off here. This should be executed every frame. It should absolutely not be... Oh. Oh, I know what the problem is. I know what the problem is. Position offset should be computed position offset, not... Computed position offset, there we go. There. There we go. Now you're doing a live blur. Right? Are you? I can't tell. Oh. Okay. Alright. Alright, I know what's going on there. If I zoom out, if I in toward the side, then the bounding box for where I want to grab the screen from becomes invalid. But yeah, we got real-time updates going here. There's that little bug where if the terminal is outside the bounds of the screen, then it'll fuck up. That's fine. There's an easy fix for that. I just can't be arsed to implement it. But hey, that bug's fixed. Alright. So I'd still like to know from you guys. If I were to whip up some concepts after the stream and show you guys what I actually want the UI to look like as far as the desktop goes, and you know where I was going with that whole thing. Would it bother you guys if I removed the tiling stuff? Because think about it, it's not an actual tiling window mounted here. It's just two regions on a screen that I allow windows to be positioned within based on an attribute. You can't move tabs between windows. You can't, like, fucking resize the terminal. You can't resize the main area. You can't... You can drag it, but, like, it snaps back to where it belongs because this is a bug, not a feature. I don't know why that window has a draggable attribute set on it. It shouldn't. So, yeah, should I go to a floating layout with two panels? Another thing I could do as well is I could move the dock to the bottom of the screen, and, you know, I could... I could go for more like an Android-style look to it, but also desktop. That's a fucking hard one to explain. Think macOS, but instead of a global menu in the top left, you have a status bar. I could do that. I actually think that might be a nice, unique look for the game. Honestly. To have a... Yeah. I want to fucking put a dock at the bottom. I'm really tempted to fucking do it. I can't do it on stream. It would mean a massive overhaul of the way the game works. Well, not really. I mean, the dock would need to be rewritten. Tool manager would need to be removed. What else am I thinking of? The info panel, I need to make it toggleable. That's fine. It's easy. I could add a tray action for it. Resizable windows. I'd need to do some stuff in monogame to get that working, because I'd need to indicate it with cursors. Getting these tiles out of tiling windows, that's not a hard thing to do. They're very used to... They use the window interface to do their things, so they don't care if they're in a tab or not. You used to be able to open a terminal inside a floating window and it worked fine. You wouldn't get tabs, but that's easy enough to implement. Moving the dock to the bottom, that's not hard. Just shifting the layout around. Okay, you know what? Let's try it. Let's get as far as we can with it on the stream. Alright, let's do it. Let's fucking do it. Okay. Okay, so luckily the way that I implemented this... desktop, what it does is it creates 3 different slots. For the info panel, the terminals, the main tile, and then there's the dock. The dock... Okay, I'm not sure why tools... Okay, tools slot is a flex panel, that's whatever. Root is a flex panel. So... root needs to become vertical. Okay. Now, we add the dock as the final child in root. Okay. Next order of business. Is making sure that the dock lays out as a horizontal element. So the width is going to be minimum 0, and then use the same height, 27, as the width used to be. Okay, what is dock items? Dock items is a flex panel. Okay, where does dock items set its direction? It doesn't set it explicitly. Okay, it expects it to be defined by the widget itself. Okay. Dock items direction equals horizontal. There we go. All these vertical alignments, they need to become horizontal alignments. vertical, horizontal. Okay, and all these middles need to become centers. Oh, I really fucked it up. Okay. Wait, no, no, no. What am I doing? Okay. Left. Center. Right. Okay. Now what are these? These are... dock group adapter. What is a dock group adapter? That might be a list adapter of... stack panel. Okay. Container dot direction equals horizontal. Okay, how much does the game break when we do this? Okay, dock adapted fairly well to being at the bottom of the screen. A bit of a weird layout for all the icons, but that can be fixed later. The info panel needs to be fixed. That's an easy enough thing to do. We can use an overlay widget for that. Okay, layers. Okay, so instead of us adding info panel directly here, we're gonna add layers here. Layers, I'm gonna go get custom properties, flex panel properties dot mode equals proportional. That'll make it fill its available width or available height. Okay, so we do layers dot child widgets dot add info slot layers dot child widgets dot add tools slot. Alright, how does the game handle that? Okay, so now we've got a terminal taking up the bottom fourth of the, or fourth or so of the screen, third, I guess, maybe. Info panel is now centered along the top of the screen. That's not quite what I was going for, but that's easy to fix. Okay, info slot dot vertical equals top So vertical alignment is top, and then info slot dot horizontal alignment equals right. There we go, we're starting to get there. Okay, now, info, panel, clock. I'm going to go ahead and make the text alignments. Right aligned. Okay. So now, I should be able to drag the terminal over the info panel. You know, provided it stays enough on screen that you can actually fucking see the blur. You should see the info panel behind it. Alright. The next thing that we do is okay, this is a tough one to think about. But what does tool manager take? It's desktop controller and a dock group. And a tool slot enum. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to make the windows floatable on stream. That's gonna take an overhaul. Tool Manager, if you're not familiar with it, that's what handles the switching between, like, web browser and chat. Or, when you know, when you click on this plus button on a terminal, and the terminal becomes two terminals, that is Tool Manager doing that. And obviously when you close one, Tool Manager picks that up and kills the window. Tool Manager also handles when you switch between, like, these applications here. So now we're in web browser, it's up there. I think web browser allows tabs. Yep, it does. That's all Tool Manager implementing that. And then when you go into something like chat, you know, we lose the tab, but you go back to web browser, and it remembers what tabs you had open. That's all Tool Manager doing that. But you know what? This does solve the problem for now. I mean, we have the info panel in the background. That's kind of weird looking, but if I drop the resolution down, to the lowest it can go. The layout's still busted. But it's not as bad. Alright. And this time you can actually see the social profiles. Alright. We're on to something.
Are you up, sir? Yeah, they're
Apologies for that, had to mute. They were moving furniture out of the basement. I did not realize that. Button didn't get interrupted. Okay, alright. Still unmuted. Okay. Alright. Okay, so we're on to something, as I said. The layout is not fundamentally broken anymore on lower resolutions. That's good. The only thing that is kind of broken is terminal. There's really not a lot of room to type. Neofet is busted. That's great. What's the frame rate like at this resolution? Oh, you know what? You can't see it. The I am GUI layer is off screen. I'm gonna have to bring it back on screen. Oh, fuck. There we go. Where is it? It should be in the bottom. Where's my FPS overlay? Oh, there it is. Okay. So at 4K, we're fluctuating between 100 and 200 FPS. At the lowest possible resolution the game lets you go. We are... Well, it's not great. I would hope that I'd be able to handle bloom and background blurs at that resolution. Why is bloom off. Ah, why is this toggle so hard to... Oh, it's because it's detecting me dragging. Okay. I'll have to fix that. There's got to be a tolerance of some kind I can set. Okay, with everything off, we're at 1500 FPS. It's fine. Okay. Alright. This is an ungodly low resolution. Okay, let's turn it all the way back up to 1440p. Background blur's on. Bloom on. And yeah, I think... Okay, I'm gonna massively overhaul the dock eventually, but... to give a very quick idea of what I'm going for, we have this little apps icon here. Imagine it swapped positions with the web browser here. Web browser swapped positions with chat. Email stayed where it is. I don't know what the fuck I'll do with crafting. Okay, basically, we're gonna have an app launcher here. It's gonna be your main tools right next to it. And then probably a workspace switcher here. And then everything you have open. So this middle section would get left aligned, like Windows. And then over here, I could put a show desktop button like Windows, or the workspace switcher could go over here as well to fill out the space. I'm just thinking. There are plenty of things I could do with the dock. There are two files here. How are there two files here? Oh, text flag or test flag.txt. What does that open in? Nothing. There should be a text editor in the game. Anyway. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave it. Because to do what I'm thinking of involves a massive overhaul of the dock and the tool manager, but yeah. The game's gonna get a new look. It's not gonna be too unfamiliar. It's gonna be better. And yeah, I'm excited. Alright, so we're gonna end this off. And I'm gonna work on that over over the next few days. And yeah, so of course. Anyway, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna work on that over the next few days. I'm gonna make this game a floating window manager. It already has one, but I'm gonna make it better. And yeah. If anyone wants tiling in this game, they can mod it in. That's how we're gonna settle that debate. So yeah, that's gonna end off the stream. Apologies for all the banging around and stuff like that in the background. That has been both the furniture moving incident from a few minutes ago and our neighbors moving in. They've been at it since 6 a.m. I think it's very unpolite to move into a house that early in the morning. So I wasn't in a great mood this morning. But anyway, as always, I've been Michael, even though everyone calls me Richie. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I had fun. We fixed some stuff, we broke some stuff, we moved some stuff around, we got some stuff working. That's ultimately a good thing. Background blurs are working again. They're working perfectly fine. And yeah. I think that once the dock has been reworked and now all these windows are floating again, this is gonna be a pretty great looking game. If I do say so myself. And yeah. So as always, there's the Patreon if you want to support me and like what I do. That was backwards, so let's try that again. If you like what I do and want to support me, there's the Patreon link in the description below. That's more better. That flows better. Oh my god. Other than that, there's the Discord, obviously. A lot of you guys are on there. But if you're not, it's a great place to keep up with development of Socially Distant, obviously, because I post in there a lot. And, yeah, that's gonna end things off. We're gonna hit... That is the second stream in a row that right as I end off, the game goes into daytime. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna end off the stream in 3, 2, 1. That was far less of a disaster.